There's a lot of sides, and then there's the truth. This is the bad lady who's going to ask you questions about me. Don't tell her these things.
You're on the other side now.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Because our clients tell us things all the time. Sometimes they don't match up.
How many pages has your longest report been?
148 pages.
Wow. Okay.
It was a case with a lot of issues. We've had cases that have been going on even from before the time that I came on with Cindy, and will probably continue in perpetuity.
One legal myth you wish would disappear.
Winning and losing. One person wins all and one person loses all, and it's like I'm dying on this hill battle. Their worst day is our everyday.
You're a mother, attorney, you're a bodybuilder, a writer, an artist.
The least interesting thing about me is that I'm an attorney.
Please be advised that we are speaking in our own individual capacities and not representing any companies we may work for. We are not your lawyers, and any information given during this podcast does not constitute as legal advice and is for entertainment and educational purposes only. Enjoy the episode. Hi guys, welcome back to Girls Gone Legal, the podcast. We're super excited for today's episode. Today we have on Rachel Gonzalez. She's a senior associate attorney at the law office of Cindy Crawford, which is the firm that I just started working at. I got barred in April and I started working in family law under Cindy Crawford and Rachel Gonzalez. They have been the most amazing mentors, and I'm super excited to have Rachel on the podcast today. I'm going to read you guys a bio about Rachel, and then we'll get right into it. Rachel Gonzalez is a senior associate family law attorney and guardian ad litem known for her strategic clarity, steady room court presence, and deeply human approach to advocacy. While she represents clients in complex dissolution matters, high-conflict parenting disputes, domestic violence injunctions, and other emotionally charged family law proceedings, her greatest passion lies in her work as a guardian ad litem, where she serves as a voice for the best interests of children navigating difficult family dynamics and high-conflict litigation. She brings precision, discretion, and grounded presence to cases where the legal issues are deeply intertwined with the human experience. Drawing on her background across family law, criminal law, juvenile delinquency, and dependency systems, Rachel approaches both advocacy and guardian ad litem work with care, neutrality, and integrity. She began her legal career as a prosecutor, briefly transitioning into civil law afterward, ultimately finding her calling in family law and child-centered advocacy. Her ability to assess complex interpersonal and family dynamics allows her to provide courts and clients with thoughtful insight, practical solutions, and collaborative, forward-looking recommendations designed to support long-term stability and well-being. Rachel is a founder of the conscientious lawyering movement and practices with the belief that legal excellence and humanity are not mutually exclusive. Her work is informed by a strong foundation in psychology, mental health, childhood development, and an understanding of how trauma and mental illness can shape behavior, communication, and decision-making. She approaches clients and families with an emphasis on clarity, emotional safety, and dignity while advancing sound legal strategy grounded in Florida law. Clients and colleagues value her insight, work ethic, and commitment to doing the work well and doing it honestly. And I know I do, because Rachel is one of my mentors and I always pop into her office to ask her questions. To continue, beyond the courtroom, Rachel is a mother, a bodybuilder, a writer, and an artist who believes that life is meant to be lived with intention, curiosity, and humanity. Her work is deeply shaped by the understanding that people are more than their hardest moments, and that connection, creativity, and self-awareness matter both inside and outside the legal profession. Whether through advocacy, writing, movement, or everyday interaction, she strives to bring warmth, perspective, and a sense of possibility into the spaces she enters, finding beauty and meaning in both the ordinary and the extraordinary, and encouraging others to do the same. We are so excited to welcome Rachel Gonzalez to Girls Gone Legal. Hi, Rachel. Welcome to Girls Gone Legal. I'm so excited that you're here today.
Hello, thank you for having me. I'm very excited to be here.
And we're super excited. We have Rachel's book, Life Simplified. I wish I learned sooner. So check out her book. We're going to link it so everyone can see it, which will be great. But yes, that is next to Rachel. I want to start with your journey, just going into law. So you began your career as a prosecutor. what led you to family law?
It was not linear whatsoever. It's been a great adventure. I actually started out practicing thinking that I was going to be a prosecutor forever. That was actually my goal. I went to law school and I took all the criminal law classes. I did not pay attention to law firm management. I did not care about private practice. I wanted nothing to do with anything other than being an assistant state attorney, because that's what I had my sights set on and my heart set on. And I think in the experience of being a prosecutor, I realized, well, maybe I was a little narrow-minded. Maybe I need to open up a little to other things and other experiences. It was a very heavy job. It was very demanding. And I left in 2021, which was, I want to say right after COVID, but kind of around the COVID time. And it was just a lot of work and a lot of burnout. So I realized I probably had to kind of shift a little bit and maybe pivot, do something different, see what other options there were out there. And initially I went into civil litigation, which was also an experience.
Yeah.
And I did a lot of different things. In the firm that I worked in, I did insurance defense, I did business litigation, I did contracts. I mean, just all
you're all over the map.
Yeah, a manner of different things. And I realized I need something a little bit more personal.
Yeah,
and
I get
personable.
that.
Something where I feel like I'm, again, going back to being a prosecutor, impacting people or helping people directly, making some sort of difference. Not that working in civil law and doing all of those things is not making a difference. But for me, I felt that maybe I needed to do something that was a little closer to the humanity aspect of it. That's always been something very important to me. And I remember being a prosecutor working in juvenile, and that was my favorite thing that I did as a prosecutor, was working in juvenile, working with kids, working with teens. And it was a little difficult because at the time I felt like I was at one end of the line with what I was doing, so I wasn't able to help or maybe do anything that was meaningful to change the course of where they were going. I kind of caught them at the end of the road in terms of they're already in the system.
Yes.
And many of them had already been in the system for different offenses and multiple times. So I thought, maybe let me do something where I can impact the lives of children a little earlier. And how do you impact the lives of children and teens? Well, you really have to think about the family unit, because that's their support system. That is who is around them. That is essentially who dictates whether they're going to be successful or not successful.
Yeah, they learn from their family.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And that kind of led me to, well, maybe if I do family law, I have a chance to help a lot more people and influence or impact the way that these family units, even though they're units that are separating and they're not like what we would call intact family units.
Yeah.
Maybe I can help the process in some way and kind of guide these children and these families so that they don't end up here.
Yeah. No, I think that's great. I think that's amazing. Your journey from being at the state attorney's office to then getting into family law, you never know where you're going to end up, and you took what you were passionate with and you took that and you ran with it, and now you're in a great area of the law where you're helping people every single day. I mean, I remember when I first moved down to Florida and I was looking for attorney jobs, and I just had taken the bar exam, and I always wanted to go into entertainment law, and I love entertainment law. I love intellectual property, but it's just a lot of contracts. You're just really at home doing a lot of contracts, and I felt the same as you. I really want to help people, and I want to connect with people, and I want to sit there and I want to meet with a client, and I want to be on the phone with them and helping them through super hard times. Okay, so let's go into your guardian ad litem work as we're talking about helping children and you moving into family. So for listeners who aren't familiar, what exactly does a guardian ad litem do?
So there are a couple of different types of guardians at Litem. You have the Chapter 61 guardian ad litems, which are in the family law sphere and family law cases. So we are appointed. It's either some sort of mental health expert, somebody who has a psychology background, master's, PsyD, PhD in psychology, sometimes an MD, or an attorney. And so basically what Chapter 61 guardians do is we are appointed in cases where there are issues involving the children, and the court wants to see recommendations based on what the best interest of the children are. So we are a party to the action. We are considered a party. As attorneys, it's interesting because we can't file motions.
Yeah.
We can't cross-examine people. We can't depose people. We can't direct examine people. I mean, we are the ones who get put on the stand because we are a witness. We are a party.
Yeah.
So it's a little bit different from what we typically do.
You're on the other side now.
Exactly.
Yeah.
As barred attorneys or as, family law attorneys who represent clients.
Yeah.
But the goal and really the role of a guardian ad litem is to investigate. So we are there to ask questions. We're there to talk to people, to talk to the parties, to talk to the children, which is something that you rarely ever see, as you know, in the family law system. The children are kept outside of the courtroom, very rightly so, to try to protect them and insulate them from the litigation. But their voices are not typically heard because they can't come in, they can't testify. They can, but we don't want them to in most cases. And it's a very, very, very last resort, and judges also don't like to do that. So having a guardian ad litem or a social investigator, somebody that can kind of get a better idea of what's going on in the home, whatever the parents are saying, the parents are going to say. I mean, as you know, we represent clients. Our clients tell us things all the time. And opposing counsel's clients tell them things all the time, and sometimes they don't match up, and they're a little bit different.
Most of the time, does not match up.
There's a lot of sides, and then there's the truth, right, as I say.
Of course.
So it's really a person to go in and investigate and ask all these questions, and the guardian ad litem talks to collateral witnesses, so anybody that the parents in the litigation would like for the guardian to talk to, experts, doctors, educational professionals, teachers, principals. As these cases go, oftentimes police officers, detectives, law enforcement, state attorneys, and anybody else that might be involved in the case or in the issues or the matters of the case.
What has been your biggest challenge as a guardian ad litem, aka gal? We call guardian ad litems gals.
Yes, we're called gals. I think the biggest challenge at first was to reframe the idea of being an attorney in a different role to being a guardian ad litem. So I've been used to being an attorney for almost 10 years. And I'm used to being a family law attorney. So I'm used to thinking like a family law attorney.
Of course.
And so it requires a little bit of a different angle, a different touch, a different thought process, a different pattern recognition, a different approach really than what we do on the day-to-day. So that was the hardest hurdle, I think, to get over at first, is not acting as an attorney representing a party, but acting as an investigator, somebody who is gathering information, thinking about information critically, really looking at the patterns that are in front of you, and then making these determinations and these decisions as to what really is in the best interest of the children. Because even though as attorneys representing parties, that's something we have to consider. That's something we have to do, is go through the best interest factors. And when we prepare our final judgments, when we go to trial, when we go to hearings, 6113. That's just, we have all the factors A through T that we have to go through and explain to the court why this is in the best interest of the child. But as a litigator, we're doing it from the lens or from the perspective of the party that we're representing, the parent that we're representing.
Yeah.
As a guardian ad litem, you're really doing it from the perspective of the children.
Yeah. Have you ever interviewed children that just don't want to speak? So what do you do in that situation?
It's difficult.
Yeah.
Because you're a person first and foremost, right?
Yes.
So we have all these titles and we have all these roles and we're in all these positions, attorneys, guardians ad litem, but you're a person first of all, and you have to think about you're a person and this child is a person, and you are talking to a child. You are an adult that's talking to a child. And depending on the case, there's a whole host of things that could have happened, a whole litany of situations that could have happened, a lot of trauma that this child could have experienced, a lot of difficulties, and every child and every family is different. So every time you go into a new case, you have to recognize that. So it's difficult because you want them to talk to you, obviously.
Want them to feel comfortable and
And you want to be a comforting place, a safe place, safe space.
Where they can open
up.
up.
A comforting person, exactly. So it is, at very first, it was very discouraging. It made me think, well, maybe I'm just really not good at this. Maybe I'm not meant to do this. But then I really just thought about it. When I was a child, when I was this child's age, would I feel comfortable talking to this random person that I don't know, that's coming in here, that one of my parents or both of my parents probably already told me, this is the bad lady who's going to ask you questions about me. Don't tell her these things. Or one of the parents is probably telling them, this is the good lady who's here to save you, and you need to tell her these things. So, either extreme of them is not good. But I think it's most difficult in cases where you have situations that, we don't call it alienation anymore, but what people typically call parental alienation, or when you have like coaching or like false allegations that are made against one parent and, using the system in one sort of way, because the kids don't want to talk and they're afraid because you don't want to get in trouble with your parents.
Yeah.
You don't want to upset that one parent that you feel you have this loyalty to, that you have this responsibility of backing up or going with their story, whatever it is. So it's hard. It takes time. What I do is I do multiple visits. And
I was about to ask you that. How many visits would you say?
It depends on kind of where the children are. I mean, I've had children who sort of just look at each other, look at the parent, one parent, and just give monosyllabic answers to things, or are just not very engaged. And so typically what I do is I will have some visits with that parent, or with both parents, and have the parents there until they're comfortable, and usually, play a board game or have them like show me around the house, show me around a room, go to a park with their parents there, and have us kind of, go around and do the things that they want to do, just to make them as comfortable as possible until they open up and are able to really carry that conversation. But I think it's also really important to remember it's not always teenagers.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
People think of like the quintessential case is like a bitter divorce between parents that have a teenager who's just on one side or the other and doesn't want to see one parent or the other for some reason. But, I've had cases with children that are 2.5, 3, 6.
Yeah.
So it's not always that easy, and it requires a different understanding of, childhood development and how to speak to them, what activities to do, and kind of how to go about things, because it's going to be different for every single child.
Do you think that being a mom yourself has prepped you into being able to do this line of work where you can sit down and connect with children?
I think so.
Yeah.
I think so. I think it has helped me understand children better. I mean, I have a psychology background and I do a lot of research. I stay up and up on the research as much as I can. I do all the CLEs that I can, not just the legal ones, but also whatever, psychology, CEUs or CLEs are happening so that I can better understand and do my duty, perform my role to the best of my ability without kind of being ignorant to all of these really important things that it requires. But I think interacting with my own child and observing her and understanding and seeing how she grows and putting that knowledge, that theoretical knowledge, those textbooks and that understanding of these amorphous concepts of development and infanthood and early childhood and their capabilities and their language progression and how they play and how they interact, actually seeing it has helped a lot because of course I interact with my child every day. So it helps me also be more comfortable knowing how to interact with children, as young as infants and all the way up to, adolescents and older teenagers.
I always tell myself, I wonder, when I have a child one day, how my mindset will change. Because, it's different when you have a kid versus when you don't have a kid. You get used to interacting with them every day. What do they need? What makes them feel comfortable? How to speak to them. So, no, I think that's great. The work that you're doing is amazing. I have one more question in this area. So without sharing confidential details, what are some of the biggest misconceptions about your role?
I think the biggest misconception of all is that we are there to represent the child. So a guardian ad litem is there to investigate and to determine what the child's best interests are, and then to give recommendations to the judge based on those best interests. I think a big misconception, even from family law attorneys themselves sometimes, is that I am the representative of the child, or I am the attorney that is being appointed to represent the child, so that the child is my client, or a quasi-understanding or belief that even though I'm not retained by the child, that somehow I still am the child's attorney. So that is an attorney ad litem. There is somebody specifically that does that. But that's different from a guardian ad litem. So we don't represent the child. We look out for their best interests and voice that to the court. But it's different from representing the child themselves. We do give the child a voice, and we listen to the child, and we take into account everything that the child says, and we do include that in our report. But also we have to think sometimes what the child says and what their best interests are not necessarily aligned. So we, as opposed to an attorney who is representing a client, don't necessarily run with that and have to zealously advocate for this position that the child maybe wants to take. We more so look at what the facts are, what the issues are, and make those determinations and then make the recommendations to the court. And then, of course, the court ultimately decides. But I think that's the biggest misconception that I've run into so far. No, that's great. Actually, while you were telling me all this stuff about the guardian ad litem work, I came up with a million more questions in my head. So I'm going to stay on this topic for a few more minutes. Of course.
How many pages has your longest report been? If you know off the top of your head.
Oh, I know exactly. I absolutely do. I would say my longest report thus far has been 148 pages.
Wow. Okay.
It was a case with a lot of issues. And it was a case where there were a lot of concerns about mental health, about time sharing, about substances. And that one did require a little bit more research also into a couple of issues. And it was so many visits with the child. Imagine. I did a lot of visits with the child as well. So that's not necessarily typical, but just like anytime somebody asks us any question about lawyering or any question about the law, it's like, well, it depends.
Yeah, it depends. I see that a lot. When people ask me questions, it depends.
It depends, because there's so many different factors at play and there's so many different things to juggle.
Yeah.
I would say I am somebody who likes to do things thoroughly. I'm not somebody who is concise. I'm not known for being concise. I am a writer.
You got a lot to say, and that's okay.
A lot to say.
That's why you became an attorney.
Exactly. And I like to really provide as many perspectives and as many points of view for consideration as possible, because I think that's also really important. I think it's a disservice to both of the parties if a lot of these things are not considered. And I think ultimately you're not really serving the best interests of the child if you're leaving a lot of these things out.
Yeah.
I mean, I have had cases where I think one of my cases, my report was like 35 pages.
Okay.
So
yeah,
it depends.
Yeah. It depends.
It depends on the issue. And I know you're familiar with, sometimes a guardian is appointed for a very specific issue, very limited issue.
Not a full report.
Exactly. It just depends on what the appointment is, what information the parties provide, how many collaterals the parties provide, what the issues are in the case.
Yeah.
Because there have been cases where I've had to talk to 20, 30 different law enforcement officers from maybe 3-4 different agencies, and maybe 10, 15 different DCF investigators, not to mention teachers from different schools and different grade levels for the different children, and different providers. If, for example, a child has certain learning needs or certain health conditions or certain circumstances like that require it. So it's just very unique to every family and very unique to every case.
Yeah, no, that's hard work, but you're doing great. You're doing amazing
Thank
things.
you.
For those that don't know, that are listening to the podcast right now, do you have to be an attorney to be a guardian ad litem?
You do not. No, you do not need to be a barred attorney, and you can have a background in psychology. You can have a master's. You can be a licensed mental health counselor. You can, have a PsyD, a PhD. Any of those things are fair game to be a guardian ad litem.
And how do you balance your work as an attorney and then working as a guardian ad litem? Because you were just saying that you're conducting a lot of interviews, a lot of home visits. You might be going to the park. How are you conducting that, doing that, being an attorney, and then also your personal life too?
It's definitely a balancing act. Sometimes it's easier. Sometimes it's not so easy. And like anything in life, it just requires allocating time to everything and being flexible, really, I think, is the most important part of it. Even though my most meaningful work, the work that I really pour my heart and soul into the most, that brings me the most joy, is my guardian ad litem work, I still have duties as an attorney.
Yeah,
I still have my own caseload. I still have parties that I need to represent.
And now you have me popping into your office. Hey, Rachel, can you help me with something?
That's like the best part, is being able to help somebody and mentor someone, because that was me. And if I didn't have people to help me, I mean, how would I get here? But I think a lot of it is, some weeks I do have a lot of home visits. I have to do mom's house, dad's house, or I have to do 2 gal cases, home visits with this parent or that parent. So I have to usually do them after work, because most of the time, parents work during the day, kids go to school, and except for, like what I was mentioning, I had a case where I had like a 2.5-year-old, 3-year-old. During the day, she did not go to daycare, so I was actually able to visit with mom and dad during the day, but that is very rare because most of the time kids do go to daycare or they have some form of other childcare where they're not with the parent. And, a big part of it is, well, I'm here to do the home visit in the home with each one of the parents and assess what is the home like, what is the interaction between the child and the parent like, what's going on here most of the time.
Yes.
So
what are the facts?
Exactly. So I get home late and I try to stagger that if I can so that I don't have to do, 4 days a week of that or 3 days a week of that. So I can, go home to my own family and my own life. But it's like everything as attorneys. I mean, it's a calendaring act. It's whenever I have time in the calendar, I will make time to make those phone calls. And, we have amazing staff in our office.
Yes.
So they get it and they know exactly what to do. I usually don't even have to tell them how long it's going to take to talk to somebody because they already know by the type of witness and who they are.
Yeah, no, they're on top of it. They are on top of everything.
They know if it's an hour, if it's 30 minutes, if it's a quick call. But usually I will let them know, well, this person I really need to talk to. It's going to be a long conversation. And they know if it's going to be a party, a parent, then it's going to be, at least 2 hours. And there's like a couple of different parameters for that. Yeah. So it's figuring out with the schedule how we can work things in. And, we're in court all the time,
which I love. I love it.
So working things around when we have court, mediations, also depositions, we have all the time. So really just having someone there, having the staff there to really help and figure out in those slots. Usually the parties, the parents, the witnesses, the collaterals, very, very easy to work with, very flexible, will schedule things, however we need to schedule them. Sometimes, as our work happens to be, sometimes we get on a case maybe 2 or 3 days before an injunction hearing, and those are things that sometimes we're not able to move, so we need to do, and so we need to cancel things or reschedule things. But usually parents are pretty flexible about that. Yeah. But it's all just, it's a giant balancing act.
Yes, it is a balancing act, and it's important to have a good support system. And, when you're working with people that are easy to work with, that helps a lot too. Not the case all the time, but but when you have that, that is super helpful. All right, well, that was great. Thank you. I hope if you're interested in guardian ad litem work, reach out to Rachel. She's amazing. She knows all her stuff on it. I think it's amazing what you're doing.
Thank you.
All right, let's get into some family law and high conflict cases. I'm really interested in this set of questions because, I just got barred in April. I'm a baby attorney starting in family law, and I am learning so much of how to balance just work life with personal life in general. That's everybody when you stop studying and you start working in the real world, and then also working in family law and then not bringing it home to your personal life. So these are all things that I've been learning over the past few months, and I love it so much. But of course, like any new job, any change in your life, you're exhausted. So I'm really interested to learn from you on some of these questions. So the first one is, family law is often emotionally charged, as we know. How do you remain grounded while guiding clients through some of the most difficult periods of their lives?
The answer to this is not what people usually think. I think people usually think compartmentalize, separate everything, be different people, cut yourself off. Yeah. But for me, it's really been the opposite. It's been leaning into being empathetic. And I know this might kind of cross over into the conscientious lawyering, but this is essentially how conscientious lawyering was born, because I was already doing this when I started. And I think this is something I started doing as a prosecutor, really, and kind of carried with me, but it just finally put a label on it and put it in a framework. But really practicing conscientiously, being very self-aware, being intentional, being human-centered, and thinking about sustainable systems of how I can practice law and how I can get to whatever goals or whatever objectives it is that I've talked to this client about. So for me, I think the most important thing is staying grounded in what is the law, what does the law provide, what are the legal issues, and what are the legal remedies. So not just, what are you feeling?
Yeah, not all the emotions.
Right.
Yes.
I
stay focused.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I like to acknowledge these things, and it's really important for me in the whole conscientious lawyering practice and framework to understand what these emotions are, because that's data, that's information that tells me, where is my client coming from? What is my client upset about? What really are my client's goals? Where is the disconnect between what my client is saying and what they actually want and what we're trying to achieve and what's best for this family? Yes. Because if you think about it, as attorneys, we are serving kind of as guides through a very liminal space, through a transition. You know, I like to think of us as bridge builders. Like we are the bridges, and we are building the bridges between what this person's life looked like before and what this person's life is going to look like after. We don't just want to throw them out and let them sink or swim and figure it out. We want to give them the tools to be able to get to where they're going to be and where eventually they're going to end up. We don't know where that is, of course, because it's a liminal place and a liminal space, and we're figuring it out with them as we go and as the litigation happens, but we certainly have the tools to get there, and we have gone through the process, so we know what the process is. We know what the expectations are. We know what the law is. We know what they can and cannot do. So it's our job to kind of hold their hand and explain this to them and guide them to the end point, which is either a trial, settlement, final hearing, final judgment, whatever you want to call it. But it's important to understand where they're coming from, what they're feeling, what the story is, not to let it color our goals, objectives, or strategy, but to help us understand how we can speak to our client and how we can explain what our objectives are going to be, what the legal remedies are, how we can get there, and to the extent that we can do things in a certain way, or what we can and cannot do for them. It's not often what you say, it's the way you say it and the way you explain it.
Yes.
So that is a big part of staying grounded, is understanding those things, also having, of course, legal knowledge, and being able to say, yes, I understand you feel you were wronged because X, Y, and Z. These are the circumstances that you came from or you came with.
Yeah.
However, this is how we can address it. This is what we can do about it. This is what I can do about it. And this is how I can help you. So let me help you in the best way that I can. And that is in the way that I'm going to explain to you, because I've done this before.
Yeah, 1,000,000 times.
Exactly.
Yes.
And not all the time, but most of the time, this is this person's first experience with the legal system. And this is the first time this person is getting divorced, or maybe the second time that they're getting divorced, but the first time was easy or simple, or they didn't have kids, they didn't have property, so it was just really quick, and now they have no idea what to expect going through litigation. We see this every day. Their worst day is our every day, but we also have to remember this is still their worst day.
Yes.
So they need help getting through it.
Yes. Do you see more cases go to court, or do you see more cases settle?
It depends.
It's a good answer. Good answer.
I think it depends on the practice, because our practice and our office, I think people come in because they want to litigate. And that's sort of, I'm going to say, the reputation that we have. But everybody has, different needs, and everybody has different goals that they are looking towards. And there's different attorneys for every one of those goals and every one of those needs. And in choosing an attorney, I think when they come to our office, they're usually prepared to fight, prepared to litigate. I do have a lot of cases that have settled amicably. That is my preference.
Yeah.
I love settling things amicably. I love singing Kumbaya and holding hands. And I'm a big, big fan of collaborative law and want to be certified there so that I can, maybe go into doing that too, because I think that is the least damaging for family units. And at the end of the day, when we think about practicing family law and when we think about family litigation, sometimes we lose sight of this is a family unit, even though it's disintegrating or it's changing its form into something different, but it's still a family and they still need to continue living and they will continue existing and being a family in perpetuity after litigation. Sometimes we get lost in the weeds and think, well, this is my client and this is the case and this is what I'm going to do because this is my client and this is how I zealously represent my client and that's it. But we don't think, well, how is that going to affect the family and how is that going to have practical real life consequences once I'm not here anymore?
Yeah.
So that's why it's my little soapbox moment for collaboration and trying to settle things amicably. And I think I've seen, the entire gambit as I've worked with Cindy. I've had cases that have settled very amicably and quickly and have resolved very easily. The parties have come in and said, we are grown adults. Our relationship didn't work out. That's fine.
Yeah.
And we just want to move on. And then, of course, you have been here to see some of the most contentious ones.
Yes.
We've had cases that have been going on even from before the time that I came on with Cindy and will probably continue in perpetuity. So it depends also, who refers our clients to us. They could have had a friend or a family member who is an attorney or knows an attorney who says, hey, go here. We really love them. We love their work. And they don't come in knocking down the door to try to litigate and want to settle. And sometimes it's the other way around.
Yeah, just depends how badly people want to keep fighting, right?
That is exactly it.
I've had, just in the few months that I've been working in family law, I've had people ask me, well, how much of the retainer do you think I'm going to use? And it depends. It depends, It's like, do we want to, amicably settle this? Do we want to come to a resolution? Or are we going to go back and forth on every little thing? You never know. But I have loved working in family law so far. I think it has been so amazing. And being able to, even though every day there's a lot of emotions going on, there's a lot of fighting, a lot of litigation. I think when I was clerking for my judge in New Jersey, I knew I wanted to go into litigation. In law school, though, I always thought transactional. So if you're a law student right now and you don't know, you're on the fence of transactional litigation, you just never know. Be open-minded to everything. But I always thought I was going to be a transactional attorney, and now I'm in litigation, and I love it. Actually, I want to tell a quick story. One of my first times in court as an attorney was with you, right in Palm Beach Gardens, and I remember Rachel standing up and she spoke so well to the judge. She knew exactly, she's so organized. I looked at her notes. Everything was so organized, beautiful font. It was so amazing to see. And it actually motivated me right there to be like, I want to be just like Rachel. I want to be like Cindy one day as I grow into the attorney that I'm becoming. And it was just really motivating and great to see you up there arguing that case. And of course, I'm a brand new attorney sitting there, just happy to be there, happy to get the experience and to be in the position I'm in. But yeah, it was a great experience. So keep doing what you're doing because you're helping a lot of people. And I think just your personality as well is an amazing thing that you have, because you're very easy to talk to. And I knew if I was coming to you, I'd be like, I want her to be my attorney. Because when you're sitting there, you want to be comfortable with someone. You're going through the hardest times of your life. You want to make sure that you're comfortable with the person that is representing you, and that they know what they're talking about, right? So I think at our firm, it is so amazing that we have so many experienced attorneys, paralegals, and people that just want to represent and help people in their hardest times of their lives. And like you said, this is our everyday. This is their worst day. And family, to me, I'm huge on family, but life happens. Things happen, and it's unfortunate, but you always have to be prepared. And I think that's why it's great to have good representation, good people supporting you, whether it's, in the legal system or it's in your personal life. So yeah, no, I think what we're doing is a great area of the law, and it's definitely different than what I was going to go into in entertainment. All right, let's move on. So let's go into trauma, psychology, and mental health. So earlier you said you have a degree in psychology. So your work is heavily informed by psychology and childhood development. Why is that perspective so important in family law?
I think because we deal with people. I think in all areas of the law, we deal with people, and that's something that we often forget as attorneys who do this every day, because we just do it every day, and it's our job. It's what we are responsible for. It's what we see in all manners of situations and in high volumes often. So I think it's kind of easy to disconnect from the fact that this is all just humans dealing with humans.
Yeah.
And I think psychology is an excellent tool to be able to apply, because we are dealing with humans. And most of all in family law, it's human dynamics, human relationships. We have so many cases in which mental health plays a role, whether that's the mental health of the parents, the mental health of the children, the mental health of one party or both parties. And these are things that we can't ignore. To me, it is like completely erasing an entire part of a case and not paying attention to it, which really diminishes our effectiveness and our ability to not only represent our client, but be able to find a solution and be able to find the best legal solution. And really have a grasp on the issues on the case, not just whatever the legal issues are in the case, but what the underlying issues are. Because when it comes to settling, or when it comes to making a determination about what the next step is in the case, or where we need to go, or evaluating objectives with our clients and determining the strategy of the case, the strategy of litigation, the strategy for trial, whatever it may be, if you don't consider these things, you don't account for these things, and you don't understand what the other party is coming with, what their goals, what their aims, what is important to them, what their baggage is, what your client's baggage is, then you're really not serving them the best that they can be served. Sometimes, and I'm sure you might be able to agree with this, we have clients, or opposing counsel has a client that is deeply entrenched in a specific position that is not the best position to take. Or shall we say the most logical position that can be taken. And it is because of one of these issues, either their mental health, their high conflict, high emotion, their feelings or thoughts or perspectives on certain things in the case, or certain circumstances that have happened in the relationship that have led them here, or the way that they are perceiving the way that litigation is going, or what one party is asking for. So not understanding those things and not being able to communicate effectively with people to address those things and speak to them on their level is not going to help end the battle.
No,
it's only going to perpetuate it.
Exactly. I think that, and I see this every day in my own life outside of being an attorney. When you're the one going through something and you're in something, you cannot see clearly, right? So in family law, a lot of our clients and clients in general, they cannot see clearly. There's so many emotions going on. I think that's why it's so important that when you have an attorney and you retain an attorney, that they're the ones helping you see clearly. What is our goal? As you were saying before, what is our goal? What do we have to do to help you, to help your family, to help your children, and to move forward? Because realistically, if you have children together, you're probably going to be around each other, on their 18th birthday, on their college graduation, on when they get married, when you guys both have grandkids together. You guys are sharing the same things. So I think that's a huge part of our work, is helping clients see clearly, and let's bring them to a perspective that is going to help them, not just let's stay stuck on this one thing if it's not serving their best interest.
And it's difficult to get to a point where you can effectively counsel someone when you have that roadblock or that barrier. So if you can't understand how, even ADHD affects the brain, or if you can't understand how depression affects the brain or affects behavior, then you can't speak to your client and you can't discuss things with your client in a way that's going to be productive, because there's always going to be a wall that you're going to run into. If your client isn't getting their mandatory disclosures done, or if they're not turning in the documents for their request to produce, but it's something that they have access to, well, maybe they're not just trying to ignore it. They're not just putting it off because they don't want to do it. Maybe they are extremely overwhelmed. And how can I help them get past that so that we can cross this, hurdle, so that we can get to the other side and we can continue on, so that we're not stuck perpetually in litigation.
In such a hard time, I think it's important to see it as a new beginning. Try to look at it positively and the positive things that will come out of it, and a way to move forward.
Absolutely.
So, all right, let's keep going, because I think, we have a few more minutes, but I want to ask you a couple more questions. So you founded the conscientious lawyering movement. What does that mean?
So conscientious lawyering is a different way to practice law. And at its core, really, it focuses on, like I was talking about earlier, I know I kind of jumped ahead a little bit.
No, it's okay.
But it's really focused on humanity and how to remain human as attorneys, and how to remind ourselves that we are humans too. How to protect ourselves and protect our mental health, how to prevent burnout, how to, improve our longevity in practice, our satisfaction in practice, how to reduce as much stress and overwhelm and overextension as possible, so that we can be the best possible advocates for our clients, but that's so that we can also be the best human beings that we can. And I think it's something I've noticed a lot in my attorney friends, and we are very involved with the legal community, with the family law community, and with our local bar associations. And I'm very grateful. That is something that, at least, where we work, it's very encouraged and it's very supported, because community is everything and it is very essential. And I've noticed that in a lot of my interactions with other attorneys, my colleagues, my friends, people are very burnt out.
They are.
And exhausted.
And then they don't even know if they want to be in this profession anymore, because they burn out so much.
That is so common. And I cannot even tell you how many times I've heard just the craziest ideas, people saying, well, I want to quit and I want to start an ice cream stand on the beach, or I'm going to quit tomorrow. Yeah. I'm going to quit tomorrow and I'm going to become a freelance writer. And I mean, I've had these thoughts myself too, because I've gotten to the point when I was a prosecutor and even at some points in family law where I'm thinking, well, I don't know. Is this the best place for me? I am really tired and I am very worn out. So I think conscientious lawyering is just a reminder to ourselves that everybody in this process is human. We have to treat everybody as a human being. And we have to take away some of the formulaic or automatic or maybe, more robotic aspects of what we do.
I agree with you 100%. We're not robots. And I think that sometimes attorneys have to put an act on and a face on, and some people can turn it off in their personal life and some people can't, and you can tell who's doing, which. But I think as a brand new attorney and had just moving to a new state myself, so I'm like learning, where to live and how to live and like all these new things. And then in my new job, I think it's great to remember that you are a human and you're going to make mistakes and just to be you. And that's something I love about our firm, is that I feel like I walk in the door every day. I'm so excited to go to work, and I'm so grateful for that because everybody in our firm is so amazing, so nice. You guys are great mentors. Everyone works super well together, and we're there to work hard and get the job done and to represent our clients, but we're also there being ourselves. No one's putting on an act or a face, or I don't feel like I have like tense all day and stress out. I feel super calm and okay, how do I learn from my mistakes? Oh, this was, I did something really well. This is great. It boosts my confidence. So I love that way of thinking and the mentality, because it can be really hard. And the last thing I want to ever do is burn out. I want to make sure that I'm being myself and putting, that into my practice and doing my best and being the best attorney that I can be. So I think that will really help a lot of young attorneys. That movement will help a lot of young attorneys as they're going through this process, because it is a transition. Law school does not prep you for the real world and being an attorney.
Unfortunately.
It doesn't. Sadly, it doesn't. It's great. You learn a lot in school. But again, it's academics at school. When you go into the real world, now you're dealing with real clients, real problems. You're moving fast every day. You cannot take your time. It's not an assignment's due, next Friday. No, this person has a problem today. And sometimes it's an emergency and we have to figure out the resolution right now. So, and it depends, depending on the case. But, I think that's great, a great way to look at it. Okay, my next question is, you're a mother, attorney, you're a bodybuilder. We didn't get to talk about that yet. You're a bodybuilder, a writer, an artist. We talked a little bit in the beginning about you have your book and that we're going to link it. So if anyone's interested and wants to read, for sure read that. But how do those different identities influence your legal practice?
I think each one of them brings a different component that strengthens my legal practice. And I always like to joke around that the least interesting thing about me is that I'm an attorney, because I have so many other things that are so much cooler that I do. And all of my creative endeavors, I think, really support my role as an attorney, because they remind me that nothing is just certain or uncertain. It's not black or white. There is room for color. Everything is malleable. You can come up with creative solutions as long as everybody is willing, and as long as everyone has an open mind. You can do amazing things. You can do great things if you work together and you think outside of the little tiny box that we're usually expected to fit into. And I think every single aspect kind of colors a different part of being an attorney. So being a writer, it definitely improves my writing as an attorney. It makes me more critical in certain areas. It makes me think about issues differently. It makes me think about solutions differently. It makes me approach problems differently. And it makes me want to tell a compelling story, which I think sometimes we forget about as attorneys, but is also really important, specifically as trial lawyers.
Yeah, you're telling a story.
Exactly. Having done jury trials and having done now bench trials, you're still trying to convince or persuade a fact finder of your position. And the best way to do that is to be the best possible storyteller that has the most compelling story. So I think in that sense, that's helped me become a better attorney, because it feeds into my ability to tell a story, my ability to weave words together so that people can understand and relate and ultimately, hopefully, side with me in my position. And in terms of bodybuilding, I think that has been one of the most crucial and most interesting endeavors that I've undertaken, because it is so competitive, but you are competitive with yourself. Yes, you're competing with other people, but something that my fitness coach has said all along is that's not what really matters. You're there to be the absolute best version of yourself, and you are doing better than you did yesterday.
Oh, I love that.
I know.
It's great motivation.
Oh, this is wonderful. Like this is golden. But it really focuses on how do you improve. So if you are, doing sets and you're doing reps, are you better this week than you were last week? Are you stronger? Are you able to do it more easily? You've got to up the weight.
Exactly.
You got to recognize that when you do. Or is this a week where you just got to lower that weight and say, you know what, it's fine. I have to understand where I am right now. I don't want to get injured, but I'm still here. I'm still showing up. I'm still consistent. I'm still disciplined, and I'm still on track. Just because I'm not standing on stage every single day, and I haven't stood on stage yet, and that's the end of the process, which is really not the end of the process. It's just one of the things. But for competitive bodybuilders, at least,
of course,
that's like what you're looking at towards the end. But it's really a marathon, not a sprint, and it's really you being the best that you can be and just outdoing yourself. So you're not really looking around saying, I'm going to outdo that person, because that person's body is that person's body. That person trains and eats how that person trains and eats. And I have to be the best I can within the bounds and within what is expected of me, what I'm going to be judged on, so that I can excel in that way. It's not looking around and saying, well, I want to look like that, or I need to look better than that. It's how can I make this, which is already awesome, even better.
I love that. I feel so motivated.
Just like being an attorney.
No, it is. As you were telling me that, I was thinking about when I was taking the bar exam. You are your own worst enemy. So when I was taking the bar exam and I would get stressed, sometimes I look at the mirror at myself and I'm like, I'm the only person I'm competing with is me. That's it. It's not anyone else in that exam room. It is me. Am I better than I was yesterday? Do I know more information than I did last week? Exactly how you were relating it to bodybuilding. And if you are focusing on anything in life, in bodybuilding, in the courtroom, if you're focusing on other people and what they're doing, you're chasing nothing. You have to know you have to make yourself better, know what you're doing, and strengthen your own skills and anything in life, and you will naturally grow. It will just happen. So I love that. I think that is great. That is a great analogy.
I'm glad it helped you, because it certainly has helped me and really, really improved how I practice, because I apply that into everything that I do. And instead of thinking about, will I win or will I lose? And is that the determining factor of what makes me a successful lawyer or a good lawyer? It's, did I give it my all? Did I bring everything to the stage? Did I do everything that I could to prepare? And if I did, that's when.
No, I love that. I think that is great. I think that's something I'm going to take with me into my practice as well. I mean, I already know as I'm watching you and I'm watching Cindy in the courtroom, that's why I love coming to trials or hearing with both of you guys, is that I'm just watching everything that you guys are doing. So like when you guys are in the courtroom and you're up there and you're speaking and you're presenting your case and you're telling your story, I'm just focused on that and like, like, how can I be the best I can be? I'm not really focused on anything else. How can I best represent my client when I start to have my own clients, which I now am. So I think that's great. It's just like, how can you focus on you and how can you make yourself better today, the next day, the day after that? It's a marathon, not a sprint. I was told that through the bar exam multiple times. And I think that's something I'll take with me into my career is, not focus on some of the dramatics that go on in the courtroom. I was in shock one day. I was like, is this normal? I think a lot of people say that lawyers are, what do they say? They're failed actors or wannabe actors. And then they go in the courtroom because sometimes I'm like, is this real life right now? But I have to remember that I'm just focused on what I'm here to do and how I can be the best I can be. And watching you and Cindy is helping me so much because I'm learning from you guys, and you guys are so focused on how you guys are being the best attorneys you can be and how to best represent your clients. So, no, I think that's great. All right, I have a few, because I know we're out of time. I have a few rapid fire questions that we could just do one word, quick answers, and then we'll end with I have a lot of closing questions, but I'll pick two. Okay, coffee or tea?
Cuban coffee.
Yeah, okay, I like that. Also, I would like to say this on the podcast because I know Alyssa and Erica are going to love this. We love in our firm, we love getting food. Which lately we need to calm down. Lately we're like, oh, we're looking forward to lunch today, or I'm bringing in bagels, because it's just like, it's such a nice way to start the day, or a little midday break, and just keeps everybody going, and great way to keep the community and like everyone talking and whatever. I always ask Rachel, I'm like, do you want a bagel? Do you want this? Do you want that? I'm like, do you want a chocolate chip cookie? She's like, no.
Thank you.
But honestly, it's motivating me because I'm like, you know what, I'm 27. As I'm getting closer to 30, I'm like, I need to start eating not like a 10-year-old child. I have to stop eating the mac and cheese and cookies. And you motivate me in that sense too.
If you offer me chicken and rice, I will say yes every time.
You know what's funny? We just ordered from this place, CR Chicks. I've never heard of it in my life. And they were cracking up at me. Never heard of it. I loved it. I got a chicken. Yeah. And I go, Rachel would probably love this place.
Yes.
Do you eat there? Yes. Okay, next time we order from there, that's what I'll ask you if you want that. Okay, next one. Courtroom or mediation?
That's a hard one. I'm going to say mediation.
Mediation?
Kumbaya.
Yeah, let's try and get to some resolution.
Yes.
That would be great. Favorite workout?
Ooh, anything back.
Back?
Yeah.
Okay.
Back.
That's interesting. I've never heard anyone say that before. Usually it's the like the standard things like abs, legs, arms. Yeah. No, that's great. I did Pilates this morning. I got myself up. I'm like, Nicole, get up, start your day. It's going to be great. Change your life around.
It is a great way to start.
I felt so pumped up today. It was great. One legal myth you wish would disappear.
Winning and losing, that one person wins all and one person loses all. And it's like I'm dying on this hill battle. It's not.
Yeah. I remember you told me when I first started at the firm, no one completely wins, no one completely loses. It's the fact that you're already here is just, it's hard, and that's what we're here to help you with. All right, one piece of advice every parent should hear.
You're never going to be perfect, but you always have the opportunity to do the best that you can, and that is more than enough.
Yeah, I love that. I think something that comes off the top of my head is we were talking a lot about emotions. And while emotions are so hard, when you have children, that should always be the biggest focus, right? You want to do right by your children. So to always focus on that. And that comes from me, and I don't even have children yet. So I can only imagine how my mindset will change even more so when I have a kid. All right, favorite way to recharge?
Anything involving bodies of water, so going to the beach, going to a lake, going to the dock, sitting by water, anything like that.
You live in the perfect place. You live in Florida. I feel the same way. That's why I moved down here. I'm like, I want to be by palm trees every day. Every single day. I don't want to wake up and not see a palm tree anymore. It's not the same.
I was born on an island. So,
yes.
I mean...
That I would never leave. If I was born on an island, I would never leave the island life ever. I mean, even now I go back to Jersey and I love it, but I'm like, where are the palm trees, guys? We need to change it around over here. All right. If you weren't an attorney, what would you be doing?
Ooh, easy. Motivational speaker.
I love that. That's
Absolutely.
great. Well, you can come on here and speak anytime. We always could use the motivation, especially our audience is all girls in college, law students, young attorneys, experienced attorneys, and we always need some good motivation. So that would be great. All right, last one is one word your clients would use to describe you.
Kind.
Yeah. Kind. I think you're super passionate, which I think is great, and it makes you excel really well at your work.
Thank you.
All right, let's see. So we have a bunch of closing questions, but I'm only going to ask you two. So what's one thing you hope every family takes away from the legal process, regardless of the outcome?
You're going to be a family forever.
Yeah, we talked about that earlier. Yeah.
Parenting does not end at 18, and life does not end at divorce or litigation. You will have to do this for the rest of your lives in perpetuity until you die, most likely, if you're lucky and nothing bad happens. So don't get caught up in the sludge, in the mud, in the trenches, because that is very temporary.
Yeah.
And that's something that your children and both of you are going to remember forever.
The rest of their lives, yeah. We only get one life. You're going to go through ups and downs, but you got to make the most of it and stay as positive as you can and really feel the moments when you're down. But have trust in the attorneys that you retain to represent you, and
I promise they know what they're doing. I promise we know.
Yes,
this is
we
why
do.
we do this.
Exactly.
Please trust us.
Okay, so my last question, it's actually a signature Girls Gone Legal question. If you could send one text message to your younger self, what would it be?
It's going to be okay.
Yeah. I say that now with anything. Anytime anything seems like a huge deal, it's going to be okay. There's nothing that you're not going to get through.
Yeah. Everything that I thought I was never going to get through and that I was never going to surpass, I have.
Yeah.
And that also reminds me in the present, anything I feel like I'm not going to be able to get through, I have 100% of my worst days and of the worst, hardest battles that I've had to fight. So I think my odds are pretty good going forward.
Yes. There's always challenges in life, always. But it's how you react to them, right?
Right.
Yeah. This was great, Rachel. Thank you so much for coming on the podcast. I am so happy. This was a full circle moment for myself as well, just because I moved down to Florida. I started working in family law. It's a brand new area of the law for me. I've been loving it. You've been a great mentor. Cindy's been a great mentor. And this is something I want to stay in for the rest of my life, I hope to, because it is really meaningful work. And it's why I became an attorney. And to be able to learn from you and from Cindy has been one of the most amazing things that I've experienced, and it's only been a few months. So I am so happy to see where this is going to take me, and I'm so lucky that I could just pop into your office whenever and be like, Rachel, this is on fire right now, and I don't know what to do, and I need your help. And
I'm usually like, it's okay.
Yes.
We can work through it.
And you're very just in life in general with your clients, but also with when you're teaching young attorneys, and in your personal life, you're very calming and you're very easy to talk to. And that goes a long way, because it's nice to have mentors or senior attorneys that you feel that you can go speak to and that you're comfortable with. Because I know in some big firms, there might be people where they're like, you know what, I'm just going to stay to myself and stay quiet and not ask these kind of questions. And I feel like I can ask you anything. And I know that's what's going to make me, myself, a better attorney than I was last week, than I was last month, and so on and so forth. So thank you for coming on the podcast. You're an inspiration, and I cannot wait for everyone to hear this episode and really get her book. Do you want to explain a quick summary about what your book's about before we sign off?
As you can see, it's got a very cheeky title, Life Simplified Shit I Wish I Would Have Learned Sooner. And it's basically just it's very short, it's very simple, it is very easy to read. It is just a distillment and description of the things I have learned in my life that would have made my life a lot easier if I wasn't in my own head about. And it's just a couple of suggestions and tips and pointers on how to make your life a lot less stressful and how to not beat yourself up about things.
I think we could all use that. It's so funny. I always say in life, I go, just simplify it. Things don't need to be so complicated all the time. Just simplify it. And, you know, you wrote a book called Life Simplified, so it's amazing. But thank you again. And we're so lucky to have you on Girls Gone Legal.
Oh, thank you. I'm very happy to be here. And very lucky that I have you to bounce ideas off of and to help guide you. And I learn from you just as much as you learn from me. Don't forget that.
Thank you. No, I appreciate that a lot. It has been great. I'm so excited to see the next coming months and the future. All right. Well, thank you guys. I hope you enjoyed the episode. And we'll be back this is dropping August 20th. We'll be back on September 10th for our next episode. Bye, guys.